I guess we should call the Fish and Game Commission for Donner County meeting to order. Can we have the roll call?
Chairman Rob Miller,
Here.
Commissioner J. Tuck Steinruck, Commissioner Kendall Smith, Commissioner Helen Ferguson, Commissioner Job Silva, Commissioner Stephen Avila, Commissioner Sherman Jackson, Commissioner Sal Hernandez.
Here. So I'm assuming everyone is taking a little bit of a look at the minutes of the last meeting. And if there's no corrections or deletions,
You could probably skip it because you can't make any motions.
pardon me,
You can probably skip it because we can't make any motions.
we don't have a quorum.
Correct.
I was thinking 5.
Okay. So we'll skip it. So let's go right into status reports and agencies and so forth. Anybody have anything to add on status reports? Public lands, federal and state. Anything new and exciting? Pardon? Okay.
I happened to be talking to somebody from the state parks, and they put me on to somebody down in Sacramento who put me on to somebody up here, back and forth. There were 3 buckets of metal buckets left out on the end of Tell Boulevard that I reported a couple months ago. But apparently I didn't report to the right people because it's state park. And lo and behold, 2 days after I talked to them, gone. There were covered metal buckets, 5-gallon things that have been sitting out there. I'm sure they weren't something we wanted. But they took care of it real quickly. It surprised me. I guess it's just talking to the right one, huh?
Who knows what was in the bucket? Probably don't want to know. So, private lands, state lands, federal lands. Now we're down to elk. Commissioner Ferguson, you have anything to add on elk for the meeting this evening?
Not for this evening, but I'm sure we will in the future. So, have you made any headway yet in scheduling? I didn't think quite yet.
There will be an elk meeting with some of the powers in Sacramento, probably, but they haven't gotten back to me on a date yet. They're planning on coming. Ellen's been after them, and it's probably going to be a good thing. They're going to want a tour of the area so they can learn more about it. Some of the folks in Sacramento don't really understand the problems with elk in Donner County, believe it or not. And so that's in the works.
Right. I think our share program went pretty well. All but a couple tags were filled in ours, and I think Billy told me he had one that he didn't fill. So we're doing our part, trying to get the population down.
Yeah, we didn't have a lot on the north side, but this year, for the first time in a while, was a pretty good sized herd, and we had one share tag was filled, and there was a Northwest hunter that shot a bull up that way too. So 2 tags, 2 filled.
Yeah. I have called Pat, I think it's Sater, is the land manager for Fish and Game for the state, the head guy for the lands that Fish and Game have. I called him a couple of months ago, 2 or 3 times. He didn't return the call. I've called him twice now. He hasn't returned the call, so I'm hoping that he does. We'd like to get some kind of information what they plan on doing with their lands.
Anybody else have anything to add on elk? Sure.
Does the county tag the herd from Smith River and the herd that's up like at the casino?
No, State Fish and Game, Carrington Hilson, I don't know what her name is now. She's married, I believe. I don't think it's Hilson, it's
I
something
think it
else.
still is.
But she's the one that does the tagging and the white collars you see.
So
on the
they
elk.
do
They're-
tag
They're
them.
tagged and then they're monitored and followed, and it's GPS.
Oh, okay.
Odd that you would bring that up, because last week she was up here tagging, and Sean Freeze called her and told her she couldn't have any more hours, so her mission had to quit.
Okay.
Out of hours, he said. Now, whether she's doing it, I don't know. It's all I know is she got called off the job.
I was just curious, I live up in Grants Pass, but I spend a lot of time here visiting and vacationing, but I'm an ex-councilman and commissioner from Coos County,
Uh-huh.
and the ones that heard at Reedsport and stuff for like years, back in the late 80s and 90s, we kept a good monitor on them, so I was just wondering.
Carrington did tell me earlier during the share hunt that the tags, I don't know, expired or went out or out of commission, whatever you want to call it. And so they were having trouble following the cows that they had put the colors on. So I guess that's why they were up here again, but she did get called off the job.
Oh, okay. Good. Glad to know. Thank you.
So the, up that, were they able to manage the elk herd up there much, or
Yeah.
how did they manage it?
Actually, they trucked some of them off in little batches up to like Mapleton and Roseburg area. Because that section there where that visiting, or even they call it, where the people, they were feeding them sandwiches and stuff. So that herd got too wild, and so they had to thin it all down. And that's mainly when the tagging got serious, and, they were color coding them and stuff, and then would move them to other parts. But it's pretty well managed now, though.
And so, do you have a house here locally?
No, we live in Grants Pass, but we spend our summers over here, and I'm friends with Tom Mitchell here, and we've been coming over here for 30 years.
Because
We leave our motor home here.
the elk here now are domesticated.
I know.
They live in your front yard.
I know, I used to camp at Shippashore, and they'd come up there and lay right next to our motor home and stuff.
Do you happen to know, was foot rot a problem up there with the elk?
Was all the people stopping to take pictures and feed them?
No, I said, was there the disease, foot rot? Did the elk have a
I think some years back, I haven't lived up to Coos County for 15 years now, but
Okay,
I know they're, because of the water stuff,
moist ground, yeah. Mhm.
But I think they did come up with some kind of medical thing to, whatever they call that, foot rot disease
Yeah,
or
yeah.
something.
You didn't get a Ditson report, I don't think, did you?
I contacted her, but she didn't have anything ready by the time I left, but I asked that they give you an updated one, and then when the season's over, Jesse come and give you guys a presentation.
Yeah, she might supply one for the RCD meeting on Wednesday. And if so, I'll send it to you so you can distribute it. Hi, Jeff. We're down to Lake Earl.
My name's Jeff Reed. I think you all know me fairly well. There is someone here who would like to have a public comment when you get around to it. Regarding the Lake Earl Wildlife Area and waterfowl hunting, a couple of quick things. This handout from Jackie, I guess everybody got one from the department. This is an annual letter that addresses the regulation settings that'll take place in April that, in this instance, affect waterfowl hunting. There's two issues that I know from this objective that concern waterfowl hunting. The first is they plan to increase the northern pintail limit to 3 birds starting this upcoming season. And it's an experimental 5-year plan where they're going to aggregate data, I think, for 3 years and decide whether or not increasing the limit to 3 was a good idea. It is based on biological studies and analysis that there's an overpopulation of drakes and an underpopulation of hens in that species. and the hens don't reproduce because there's too much fighting over who gets to be with whom and for how long. I know that's very scientific for all of us, but that's the gist of it. And there are a lot of folks that disagree with that opinion, and we'll find out. It'll take a few years. The other issue of consequence for waterfowl hunters in the April resolution is the department's desire to go back to the olden days where the waterfowl season opened on a specific Saturday and closed on a specific Sunday. But in those years, the waterfowl regulations weren't necessarily set by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service on a national and international scale. And the department is resisting allowing hunting the full 104, 5, 6, or 7 days because it changes every year. They want to compartmentalize it into 3 90-day months, and have it be the same every year so people can remember it. And I'm going, then why do we all carry cell phones and stuff if we have to remember all this stuff? So the California Waterfowl Association and other folks that are pro-hunting have been very adamant that if the feds say we're allowed a 107-day hunting season, we should get a 107-day hunting season because that's what the science says. Now, we'll see who wins that argument, whether it's common sense or the department's inability to manage their refuges if they're open an extra 12 days every year. But that's just my personal opinion. So that's a pretty standard document. As far as the wildlife area goes, I took all of the commission's advice last time I was here. I don't know if it was last month, whatever, and wrote Ms. Bartlett, the Region 1 manager, regarding the closures and the work accomplishment on the Lake Earl Wildlife Area during dune restoration. She wrote me back and asked me what I'd like to see and how, which I thought was very polite of her because I didn't want to go to the office here and leaf through years of paperwork and rehash all of the slideshows, to use a polite word, that we've seen in the last couple of years. So they sent me the condensed version of the annual accomplishments, minus they redacted all the locations of endangered plants and all that kind of stuff, which you can walk out there and see them yourself. I don't know what the big deal is. But either way, they also omitted all the fine pictures taken over the years that are nice for show and tell, but I'm not interested in those. I've been out there 100 times. So anyway, I got an email from Sean Fries, who we all know pretty well, a week or so later, with 3 years of reports that covered 9 years of work. And besides the fact that they're required to make an annual report every year, which I did mention in my reply to them, there was at least some data there. So I think Jackie furnished everybody with my 4 or 5 page response that I sent back to the department today. And I'm not here to rehash it tonight, but I hope you all will take some time to read through it. I condensed some of the data and put it into a spreadsheet table or two, so you didn't have to leaf through 27 maps to realize that in 3 years they did 2.7 acres of remediation out there. And to me, those are the bottom line numbers. What was accomplished over time and how much has that impacted waterfowl hunting out there? And in the first 3 years of closures, during the entire year, the calendar year, 1,000 days in total, they did 2.7 acres. And we weren't allowed to hunt for, I forget the total off the top of my head. It was around, I think, 90 days or something. So my point being, if they're not working out there all year round, which we've proven to them they can do, then which they should be doing, then we're still being penalized. And in my reply to Mr. Fries, I included Ms. Bartlett. I included Chad Dibble, who is the Deputy Director of the Fish and Wildlife Division of the Fish and Wildlife Department, hoping to get their attention to the fact that they've been misled by what's going on in this county. We've all been misled, we including the Board of Supervisors and a host of people that live here. And that's the short version. I hope you all will take some time to look through it at your leisure and maybe at the next meeting, when there's a quorum, I'm hoping we'll have the replies back from the department. I'll get them back by then, and I'll ask Jackie to share them with you all, and maybe there's something there that action could be taken on potentially. And unless you have some questions, I'll be quiet. Thank you.
It's interesting that you got the reply. It's interesting that you got the reply. It's interesting that you got the 3 years' worth of reports, because they were kind of off in Never Never Land prior to your request, right?
Yeah, and look, I don't want to read too much into it, but you could tell that what was pushed together, that what years were condensed, and as I said, I pointed out that there's required annual reports that started in 2013, not 2017. And actually, it was 2019 was the year that they consolidated 5 years' worth of work into one report. And I can see why they did it, because the accomplishment report would read 0.10 per year, or to some number like that. I didn't do the full math, and again, I respect the folks doing the work out there, but I have little respect, as you well know, for the management and execution of the work. Anything else? Okay.
Not for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff, for doing all of that. That's a lot of work.
I'm sorry, I missed it.
I just told Jeff, thanks for doing that. That's a lot of time that he took to do that.
Well, yeah, there's a certain number of duck hunters in the group that are kind of interested to get access on public land, period. They don't want to be restricted off of public land. It should be for the public, not limited to one group. And like you say, there's a whole bunch of days of the year that they don't do anything. So, thank you. So, anybody on the junior pheasant hunt today? Oh, sorry.
Oh, there we go. Has anything been done about access? Because right now, the only place you can get into the lake without getting muddy and without being illegal with a boat is the Narrows. And it's iffy if you have a boat on a trailer. So it's like the gauge is reading 2.46, but it's below that.
I wrote to the Department of Water Friday. Put it out. They've been good at the past.
Look, if we're looking at this as a recreation draw for the area, I think last summer was a pretty good example of how it is not. It's because you really had no access,
And it certainly seems that they really don't want you out there.
It seems odd, huh? It's almost as if a state is trying to close everything here.
Another thing to add to that access is there's no handicap access to the lake, where we, in a bigger city environment, that would never pass. And that's one of the things that our Grange Environmental Committee has brought before them, and their staff in Eureka before COVID agreed with it, that we need to have access for handicap. And I think maybe some of that will be addressed not too far distant future. But not only do we need more accesses, like Sherman said, but there's no handicap access.
Oh, in that respect, Jeff and I were talking about the Bazzini access there, the right-of-way. The big tree that was actually limiting the straight water right-of-way shot is no longer there. It's, fell down. And I was wondering, is the county still paying someone for that access through the private property? Bazzini? Are you familiar with that? Yeah, okay. Ellen, do you have anything on the Buchner pheasant hunt?
Oh, yeah, I do. Sorry about that. I called Aaron Berger, and he wants to do the pheasant hunt again. And we're also looking at some other youth activities, like some fishing activities, things like that. For example, Mike Koopman has volunteered. He's going to come in and show the kids how to rig up their fishing hooks and things like that. Even if we just fish out at the lake or fish at the river or something like that. And strangely enough, one of our share hunt people, Billy Daly, he has a program that's a California approved curriculum, and it's an after-school program, and it deals with wildlife and recreational opportunities. And so he's going to work with us a little bit, and we might try that, being this is an approved activity and maybe in some of the schools here. But it's in the works, and then Aaron has to coordinate with all of the other game wardens here in Humboldt County, because at the pheasant hunt, there was a whole group of them that came, and he's hoping that that will happen again.
That would be really good. So, at the last meeting, we move on to the Saxton Fred Hay Drive boat launching facility, and I had Jackie go ahead and write up a letter, which you have in your packet. Seth Ricker is the guy's name. I changed slightly, sorry folks. The last sentence in it is, this is a great plan, but nothing has happened, and it continues to go downhill. Please consider sweeping, cleaning the parking lot, and repaving over the top of the existing pavement to allow better access. This could be a first step in that rehabilitation project, because going in and out of that facility is difficult at best. Difficult because of potholes. Some of them you might lose your boat in it. It's terrible. And the county doesn't have anything to do with it anymore. It's Fish and Wildlife. They had a big plan. There's multiple reasons why the big plan doesn't work. So rather than digging up the pavement and redoing the whole thing, just pave right over the top. Make it smooth. Make it easy to get access. I talked with Seth Ricker. He thought that was a good thing. They had money at one point to do the big project, and that got stopped. So hopefully they'll be able to do something to try to fix it, because it's not good. Not good at all. So I guess we can't vote on sending the letter.
I can send it out to all you guys, and then like email-wise, and you could vote that way.
Okay. Do you think we should should copy the Board of Supervisors?
I don't see why not.
I think so.
We can send it to them as well.
Yeah, I think we should copy the Board of
And
Supervisors.
who all do you have on the list to send this to?
Just Seth at the moment. He's the guy in Eureka that's theoretically in charge of facilities and fishing, et cetera, in the district. I don't think we have anything on the smelt fishing petition at this meeting. I think Rosa is supposedly coming to the next meeting, do you think?
Yes, she was unable to attend this one because she is out of town, but she said she can make it to the next one, so I did request that she come.
So we've requested Rosa to come to the meeting to explain why they want to eliminate everybody else and why they want to keep themselves to be able to dip net smelt.
And this is a request from the Talawadini tribe?
Yes. To the state Fish and Game. And if the smelt population is in such dire strait, they should request the entire coast to be limited, not just that portion. So. Okay. Elections.
But you can do public comment.
Maybe next time.
Yeah, you can do public comment now.
Public comment. Here you go. Please.
So I'm Tom Mitchell. I live at 4700 Lake Earl Drive. I own property on the Lake Earl Wildlife Area. I just wanted to introduce myself, that I have property there, and I'm interested in working with Fish and Game on various aspects of the property and the management of the Lake Earl Wildlife Area. And I had looked up the wildlife plan that was published in 2004, and I've understood that it's now proposed to be released in 2026, but I'm concerned that no one has an idea what's going to be in that plan, and I would like to know at least if we could get some updates on points of contact from the state and the Fish and Game on who we could talk to that may be making inputs into the biology and the wildlife management and everything to do with the wildlife plan.
Well, I believe Jeff has actually talked to somebody about having input locally here. Haven't you? Or,
I believe the county
okay.
involved development
Yeah.
before they submit it. County, and therefore us, idea of what's coming
Yeah.
by the document. I don't know that there's current that's going to happen. So it'd be worth checking. County going to be involved, and why not?
So, if, based upon the past performance of producing a plan, would it be something that we could do as the county to have an independent study done on the management of the wildlife area, so that at least we would have some independent biology that's accomplished, so that when we do get a plan, we would be able to make some comparisons, and also that the county would be able to use an independent study to make some decisions on the lake levels and what it is about the salinity that goes up in the lake when it's open to the ocean for 6, 7, 8 months, because they breach it at such high levels.
It's funny that you should mention that, because today I was trying to contact the Natural Resources Department down at Humboldt, who have done studies up here. They used to be up here all the time, and I don't know if they even come up here anymore.
I have no idea. The original plan says the point of contact's in Eureka, but I keep
Well,
hearing
yeah, well, but
Sacramento.
Humboldt State, Cal Poly. They've done a lot of studies up here, and so I'm going to try and get a hold of some of their papers if I can, and see if we can encourage them to come up here and maybe build it into their curriculum.
So that just leads me more to think that the plan's going to be delayed again and again, because no one's actually coming up here and actually studying
Well, they
what's
don't
going
care,
on.
really. These are not boots on the ground people
So-
making this up. You know?
I'm kind of radical in this, and I think that if the state's not going to produce a plan, then the county needs to take the lands back over, and we need to manage them as we did in the 1970s and open the lake. And I would like to offer my property and Yonkers Creek that runs through my property to reintroduce salmon into the Lake Earl wildlife area.
Well, I think a big point of it is this, with the high salinity that we're left with because of the high breaching, and then it stays tidal, we haven't had any significant duckweed growth, probably 5 or 6 years. And what I've read about it is it is like vital for migrating waterfowl.
I believe there was an article in the Triplicate that I read last month or so that said the migratory populations of migratory waterfowl that are flying through have been reduced by about 50% because there is no food for them.
Right. After a while, they just know to,
So this, I mean, it's imperative that we can't keep having a delay I think that the county needs to take action, and we need to start with our own plan. And to do that, we need to have an independent study done and have some of our own biology that says, hey, we need to breach the lake at lower levels so there's less salinity, so we can get the duckweed to come back and increase these migratory flocks so that we do have better hunting. And
I'm sure Helen has an opinion because she fought tooth and nail all through that period of time when Fish and Wildlife decided they were going to allow it, and the Coastal Commission too, I believe, allow the lake to go to 10 feet. And then when they breach it at 10 feet, as you say, it stays open for,
yeah,
because it goes down,
blows-
it goes down to a puddle then, as opposed to actually managing it. Keyword, manage. 'Cause they really don't manage anything.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up on Yonkers Creek, and there was salmon in there every year as a kid. And then in the 70s and 80s, when they started managing the lake, the populations just died back, and there's nothing there now. I mean, I don't even see the little trout or steelhead or anything swimming in there. So,
Just maybe helpful to you, it was David Lauk, L-A-U-C-K, that was the head biologist down at Humboldt that did all the studies on Lake Earl. And if you call down there and ask to get copies of those, plus you could do a FOIA request on our federal lawsuit of what species were impacted in their studies. But to give you an idea of what we're up against, is we had the original Fish and Game staff reports from the late 1930s of how many silver salmon came up Yonkers within 48 hours after the lake was breached. And they found a way to have it inadmissible in federal court in Washington, D.C., even though it was their own studies. And that's where we are. But I agree with you. I think it's time to revisit it, because it has proven that what the local people said is true. They have destroyed much more than they have ever begun to save out there.
very good points. I know that also that there's been salmon reintroduction into the Columbia River, and they've gone through the same battle to open up and get the fish ladders put in. There's even the potential to put maybe fish ladders from the Smith River and make a canal into the lake. I mean, that we
Yeah,
could.
that was all, and
Yeah.
that's all on record here.
Yeah.
And, but the thing is that after they got into this, their own documentation, and I want to say it was 1983 or 1989, that they had one silver salmon go clear up through Yonkers and Bush Creek and Jordan Creek after they started this management.
Yeah. So I do have spawning grounds on my property,
Yep.
and I would very much offer that out to the state or the local Indian tribes if we could, get with them and reintroduce the salmon. It would be a very interesting project.
U.S. Fish and Wildlife, and I can't remember the year exactly, they spent over $1 million at one of our ranches putting in bridges to make Jordan Creek easier to go through for the coho salmon. That was what the grant was written for, right in the midst of all of this lake thing. And they spent all that money, but if we reintroduce something, then it has to be compatible with the breaching scheme, or it's not going to work.
Yeah, I know. So there's nothing between Lake Earl and Yonkers and on my property. It's all open, all the way to the lake. And I know that there were hundreds of salmon in there when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And that's why I wouldn't mind working with whoever I can work with to reintroduce, is because we don't have the problems with Jordan Creek and getting under Lake Earl Drive. And
That's right.
so just thoughts.
Yeah, one of the Smith River Alliance is really active in getting grants and doing restoration work on creeks. Not so much reintroduction, but as an example, on Chine Creek, and Delilah Creek, they're doing a lot of work on trying to reestablish and rehabilitate that property to make it, you know, if you drive past Fort Dick Market and you go down over the hill, and just as you go down over the hill, when you make the right-hand turn, that's Upper Cheyenne Creek on your right. And they had a big project out there with excavators and so forth, and they built a whole bunch of backwater places and so forth for coho. And so that project is pretty much finished. The next project is to move some further down on Cheyenne Creek to try to get it set up better for fish habitat. So they've been doing a lot of work. They did a lot of work on, and I can never remember the name of the creek exactly, Hunsicker or something like that, which is the creek that starts just a little bit on the Crescent City side from where the boat ramp is, and it kind of winders along there. You don't even know there's a creek there. Then it goes underneath the road. They rehabbed that whole area for coho. And if you mention coho, you get money.
I'm with you on that. Thanks for
And
hearing.
I would assume the county will be asking or will be involved, excuse me, in the discussion. And so maybe someone in the county is someplace else to go also, to make sure that they are going to be able to put in comments and discussion on the management plan.
I'm pretty strong feeling in myself that we need an independent study that we can compare to whatever the state's going to produce. And if the state doesn't produce again, then we have an independent study that the county can actually act on to start managing the Lake Erie Wildlife Area. Just take that responsibility back from the state because of their lack of interest, really. You know?
Unfortunately, I don't think that will ever happen.
I mean,
And I realize the need for it potentially, but the county's not going to do that.
Once the state gets something, it doesn't release it.
No. And so the only way you're able to get good input to it is to do exactly that, is to have the county put input, have private folks put input to it, because they have to respond. They have to tell you yes or no, or they have to tell you why they can't do this or why they can't do that. And so getting that information through all that CEQA stuff, they've got to respond. You put in a comment, they've got to respond to it. That's required.
so are you saying at the Board of Supervisors meeting, or?
Well,
Because I didn't find any.
Joey Borges, you're a supervisor?
He is.
By golly, that's a place to start.
I tried to
Definitely.
email his account through the county,
Yeah.
and I haven't got anything response from him yet.
Best to catch him on the road. Yeah, I mean, he's around. I saw him around today a little bit and so forth. I mean, and he's a little bit harder to catch up to, you know, but that's the place to start. Or to come specifically to the Board of Supervisors chambers, or to come to a public Board of Supervisors meeting and ask the question
So
in a
it's
public
just-
comment period, just like this.
I get the feeling that a lot of the efforts end up in the bin, you know? They
Yes.
just get, and there's no actions being taken on the part of the county. And I don't know, I can't go directly to the state because the state's just gonna send me back to the county.
Yeah, and I don't know whether he should try to go, you know, what do you think, Helen? Try to go to the, and see Heidi?
Yeah, I think maybe what might help if we could say, because it's not just you, but several other people are concerned about the overall management of the lake, not only the level, but the species. And maybe we could just kind of nudge the county along and say, what, if any, input have you had? We would request time where our general public could come in. Maybe we could kind of nudge the county along a little bit, because otherwise, you're right, it's going to happen without any local input.
Should we request
I think we should,
Heidi or somebody to come to one of these meetings
Yeah.
and tell us where that stands?
I think so.
We
That
can-
would do for
we-
now.
We can do that.
Or would it be Neil?
It could be Neil, sure. I don't, yeah, maybe,
Maybe both of them.
maybe both of them. So Jackie, why don't you see if you could request someone from the county, not necessarily specifically mentioning a person, to come to the next meeting and try to discuss with us about whether they've heard of the wildlife management area plan being written, and if they've had any input to it, or when they think they might get some, and maybe that just needs to come to us in writing rather than physically come to the meeting. What does everybody think?
I think that's a good idea myself.
She's writing as fast as she can there. I see her going.
I want a chance to read it and actually make comment. I don't.
Yeah, well, there's a requirement that's
Yeah.
a must.
But
If they
it's,
never produce it, then I don't get a chance.
Well, they have to have it. See, the problem is that they produce it, but they have it published in some place that you never know that it's published there. And that fulfills the requirement
That's
that the
right.
public has access to it, even though the public doesn't know where it is.
we pretty much have to specifically ask the department to, and the county is much more powerful than us as any individual.
Don't remember the fellow's name, but Killer Heidi has a fellow dealt with some, wrote some letters to the county. Neil, I'm sure knows
I think so.
that
I mean-
makes any difference.
What's that?
Who's Neil's assistant, county, the assistant?
He's a CEO of the county.
Assistant CEO?
I
okay.
think he is, no,
Well,
Yeah.
Neil's the CEO, but who's his assistant? I can never think of his
it's
name.
not Harper, but it's,
No, it's Randy.
Randy. yeah.
Randy Hooper.
Yeah.
Randy Hooper, I'm sure would have been the guy, because Randy worked for Heidi for quite a long period of time.
Yeah.
Randy Hooper's the guy you need to see. Randy Hooper's the guy you need to see.
And he'll know what you're talking about, too.
Yeah.
I mean, more than just the average bear.
Yeah, and he's somebody you can go see. He's a good guy. He'll be happy to talk to you about.
I kind of think the best of all worlds is the fact that you came here as a member of the general public, asked us, we're trying to support you, but I think there's a lot of merit with you as an individual also making the same request.
I really appreciate it because it seems like it was just Jeff and I for the longest time. And Helen.
Yeah,
I'm back after 41 years, so.
yeah. We
Yeah.
needed you 30-some years ago.
Do you think, Jeff, do you think that's a reasonable approach for him to try to catch up with Randy? I mean, he's got a lot of specifics. He's got property on the creek. He's familiar with the old system there. And, you know, he may have information that many of them are somewhat unaware of.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great suggestion. I know Randy has, again, some of the background items picked out from this group, others. He's aware of some of the
Yeah.
issues out there, and this only helps reinforce the community concern, which I think is the ultimate goal here.
Yeah.
The whole community is concerned about the National Lake Trail, not just the duck hunters, the landowners, the county. Not to mention the environment. We all agree locally that it's all gone to hell.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
I think historically, Fish and Game's been used to making a decision and presenting us with a fait accompli. You know, this is what it is, guys.
And that is really what concerns me is big state is crushing on the counties, and it's like they want us to go extinct in Del Norte County. They don't want us around. They just want to create some vast playground for
Yeah,
Southern
this is a
California and the rest of the
unpopulated area.
U.S. And I'm not, they're a little late to the table. We're already here, so.
Yeah. Well, we
And
weren't
I don't
invited
feel
to the table.
comfortable. I don't feel comfortable that the county has any resource to go back and say, no, we're not going to put up with this. And what are they going to do? I mean, what can they do to us?
They definitely have that power if they do it.
My experience when the county
I mean,
says no.
they can't cut our power off or anything, so.
But my experience when the county says no, the state says yes. It's really hard for the county to even get them to listen to them.
Yeah.
most of the, there's a requirement that for these types of plans and so forth, that the state consults with the county.
Right, but when the state allows 5 million acres to burn because they see one 640 acre parcel clear cut, and then they close all the roads so you can't put the fires out, that's mismanagement, and the county should be able to have a say into that. I'm angry that the county didn't get a chance to, on the 150 acres that they just gave to the Yurok tribe. I'm all for it, but we, the people in Del Norte County, didn't get any vote on that, and that's 150 acres of forest land that's now removed off the tax base. And nobody got a shot at that. That was straight out, and the state is supposed to reimburse us at fair market value for those forest lands. Okay, that's lost revenues to the county because nobody's got a stick in this. Okay,
I
so
apologize for saying it. You're preaching to the choir. I mean, we know exactly what you're talking about.
so
Exactly.
But if we just keep getting put off and put off and put off, and they just keep making laws,
Yep.
then at some point, we, the people in this county, have to stand up and say, look, we're shutting our roads. We don't want the state in here. And we just boot the state out.
Our problem is we got 25,000, they got 50 million.
Well, no, we
And so
have
they-
25,000
the
and they have nobody
The votes,
in this county.
it's really hard. I mean,
Let's deal with our sheriff's department.
I know
and
exactly what you're
anybody
talking
that comes
about.
in, we just send the sheriff after, and the sheriff throws them in jail and then escorts them out.
I know
I'm a radical on this, so-
exactly what you're talking about.
So if
But
we only
it's-
have,
it's
and,
hard.
and if I'm angry, there's so many issues. We've got 3 sheriffs on any shift, and we got a 50-something minute 911 response call, and we're going to hire a couple more building people, and we're going to hire another $250,000 is on the docket for tomorrow meeting to hire someone for the DA and an investigator, and
Oh,
yet
yeah.
we can't have.
Oh, yeah.
We need 10 sheriffs on any shift. I'm sorry, but
No, you're more than welcome to come to every meeting
all right.
and voice your opinion.
Thank you for my 5 minutes, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have any more public comment? Any comment? And if not, I guess I don't have to get a motion.
Went up French Hill yesterday, all the way through Coon Mountain, all the way down. They blacktop all the potholes, all the way to where the Coon Mountain turns off, so I can drive like 60 miles an hour without breaking it. Best I've ever seen there. They had washout was actually a dip in the road, saying that's the only spot you got to slow down. The rest of the
Really?
wow, I've never seen it like that. Like coming right down before you get to the pavement down there, it's usually a washboardy. They got it all graded off, so you can. Nice.
County
That's
did-
county road, right?
Yeah.
Why can't they filled it with, looks like reconstituted blacktop?
It
So
probably
why don't
is.
they take that out to the boat ramp and dump a couple dump truck loads out there and flatten it?
Because the county, I mean, hey, I've been told this by a supervisor. The county has nothing to do with that boat ramp anymore. When they had something to do with it. Yeah, sure, but that would cost money. I mean, it's just what it is. I suppose I can say adjourned.